everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a cactus pot holder. Now you'll notice they look different even though they're made off the same pattern, and that's because I used cotton for this one and acrylic yarn for this one. If you're going to be using this as an actual hot pad, I suggest you use a cotton yarn because acrylic can get hot and burn. But if you're just going to use this maybe to set a bread basket on or for decorations, or maybe just something warm but not hot, then acrylic is just fine. The cactus measures 7 inches across and about 8 inches tall, or you can add a little inch if you want to add a hanger. You can make it with or without. Both ways work perfectly. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. As I previously stated, you can use cotton yarn or you can use acrylic. This cotton yarn is 100% cotton. It's all sugar and cream and peaches and cream and some bright colors. This one in acrylic is just your medium weight number 4 yarn in bright orange, bright green, and lavender. For today's demonstration, I'm just going to use some Red Heart Super Saver that I have on hand. I'm using this green. It's a spring green. I'm using bright orange, and I'm going to change and use pink instead of lavender just to mix it up a little bit. All right. Now, I just pulled those out of my stash. You may want to just do different colors. These are just what I used. You can use whatever colors that you want to. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. The H hook is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle for weaving in ends and also sewing on that flower. And then, of course, you'll need your scissors. We'll be starting at the bottom. We'll make the bowl section. Then we'll put this trim on for the edge of our bowl, and then we'll do the top of the cactus. So I'm starting with my orange. I'm going to make a slip knot. And then I'm going to chain 18 chains. There's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So I have 18 chains. I'm going to begin by placing a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Our chain 3 here will count as 1 double crochet, and that's our second. And we're going to place 1 double crochet in each stitch across. I'm placing 1 double crochet in each of the chains across. I placed 1 double crochet in each of those chains. I have 16 double crochets because our first 3 chains counted as our first, and we began in the 4th. I'm going to chain 3 and turn. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. I want to increase by 1 double crochet at the beginning and end of this row. So I'm going to place my first double crochet in that first stitch. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, and there's my double crochet. Now we'll place 1 double crochet in each of the stitches across until we reach that last double crochet. And when we reach the last double crochet, we're going to place 2 double crochets in that last stitch. And that will give us an increase at the beginning and end of this row. I've stitched across. I'm to my last stitch, And so I'm going to place 2 double crochets in this last stitch and chain 3. So now for row 2 we have 18 double crochets because we increased at the beginning and the end by 1. So we had 16, now we have 18. And for row 3, we've chained 3 and turned, and we're going to repeat what we did on row 2. We're going to place a double crochet in that first, and that will increase us by 1 here. Then we'll double crochet in each stitch across, and then we'll place 2 double crochets in the last stitch, and that will give us an increase as well. And then after this, we won't be increasing anymore. So I'm just going to place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across, and then when I reach that last double crochet, I'll put a second double crochet, and that will increase us to 20 double crochets. I've placed 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. I'm to my last stitch, so I'm going to place 2 double crochets in this last stitch. And so now we have 20 double crochets for row 3. We're going to chain 3 and turn. And now we're not going to do any more increases. We want to stay at 20 double crochets. So our chain 3 here counts as our first stitch, and we're not going to stitch in that first one. We're going to begin stitching in the second double crochet, and we'll place 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets across. And when we get to the end of this row, we're only going to place 1 double crochet in that last stitch. So 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. I've again stitched 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. I'm only going to place 1 double crochet in that last stitch, chain 3, and turn. And for row 5, we're just going to repeat what we did on row 4. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so we'll start in our second double crochet and stitch 1 double crochet in each of those stitches across. And again, we'll have 20 double crochets. I have completed row 5. I have 20 double crochets, and I'm finished with my orange, but I'm not going to cut it off. We're going to leave it attached. We're going to bring in our second color, and I'm using pink for my second color. Chain 1 and turn. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch a single crochet in each of the double crochets, working in the back loops only. If you look on the top of your work, you'll see that there are loops on this side and loops on this side. The back loops are the loops that are facing away from you. The front loops are the loops that are facing you. We're going to be working in the back loops, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of those back loops. So I'll go in the first back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And we'll do this all the way across this row. 1 single crochet, working in the back loops only. Now you'll know that you are doing it correctly if, as you stitch across, you see this little ridge right here forming, because those are the loops that we didn't stitch in. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of those stitches, working in the back loops only. I've completed this row of single crochets working in the back loops only, and you can see this ridge all the way across, and you should have 20 single crochets. I'm finished with my pink, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm going to bring in my green, and this is for the cactus portion of our cactus pot holder. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 and turn. And this is the front of our work, and this is where the edge here has kind of a 3D effect to look like the edge of our cactus. Now, because we turned our work, our front loops over here became our back loops. And we're going to be stitching 1 double crochet in each of the back loops across. One double crochet in each stitch, working in the back loops only. And you can see how having this edge forward makes that cactus look like it's sitting inside a little pot. One double crochet in each of the back loops only, working all the way across this row. I've completed row 7, stitching 1 double crochet in each of the back loops. I have 20 double crochets. I'm going to chain 3 and turn. My chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet in this next stitch. And then the next stitch, I'm going to do what's called a back post double crochet. The post of your stitch are these long portions, and we're going to be stitching in the back post. So yarn over, we're going to go around from the back, go around that post, and stitch our double crochet. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1, 2. Then we'll stitch a back post double crochet around the post from the back. Back post double crochet. We're still stitching double crochets, we're just placing some of them in different places. So 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, then back post double crochet in the next. 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, back post double crochet in the next. 1 double crochet in the next 2, back post double crochet in the next. There we go. And they can be a little bit clumsy doing those back posts, but you'll get used to it as you go, and it's well worth the issue or the trouble or the effort. 1 double crochet in the next 2, back post double crochet around the next double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in those last 2 stitches. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so this is what it looks like on the back, but this is the front of our work, and you'll begin to see where we place those back post stitches. They stand up a little bit and make it look a little bit more like a cactus. For row 9, we're going to be doing what we did on row 8. The only difference is we're now going to be stitching front posts because we're working on the front of our work. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch because our chain 3 counts as our first, and then we'll stitch around the front of that next post, stitching a double crochet. Double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, then front post double crochet. 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and front post double crochet. And you can see now those ridges or lines are really popping out. Double crochet in the next two, 1 and 2. Front post, double crochet in the next, and then 1 double crochet in those last 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and chain 3. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 8 and row 9 one more time. So we'll do another row with the back posts, then we'll do another row with the front posts. So we're repeating row 8 and row 9 one more time each. I repeated row 8 and row 9, and you can really see those ridges in our cactus now. At the end of this row, we're only going to chain 1 and then turn. We're going to stitch a double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together. So we're going to yarn over, go in the first double crochet, then go in the next double crochet and pull up a loop, and you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 3, yarn over and go through the last 2. And by stitching those 2 together, we decreased by 1 stitch. Our next stitch is our back post. So we'll go ahead and stitch our back post, double crochet, and then we'll go across the way we've been working, stitching 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then our back post, double crochet in the next, because we are working on the back side of our work. 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then back post, double crochet. And we'll continue this as we've been doing till we get to these last 2 stitches. I've worked across stitching 2 double crochets, back post double crochet, until I've reached my last 2 stitches. And we're going to stitch a double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together. So we'll yarn over, go in the first stitch and pull up a loop, then we'll go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have those 4 loops, yarn over, go through the first 3, yarn over and go through those last 2, chain 1 and turn. And you'll see that we're starting to decrease on both ends. Now, because we decreased on each end, we only have that 1 stitch on each end. Well, we want to decrease again, and so we'll be decreasing in our first stitch and then also using that first front post at the top. So we'll yarn over, we'll go in that first stitch and pull up a loop, then we'll go in that next stitch and pull up a loop and stitch that decrease stitch. Our next stitch are these 2 double crochets, so we'll go ahead and stitch a double crochet in each of those. Then we'll stitch our front post double crochet and continue across the way we have been, stitching 2 double crochets, 1 in each of those 2, and then front post double crochet. And we'll repeat this across till we reach those last 2 stitches. Alright, so we've reached our last 2 stitches, which is our front post and our decrease. So we'll yarn over, go in the front top of the front post, pull up a loop, go in that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through those 3, yarn over and go through the last 2. And now we're going to cut our green yarn. And we're going to tie that off. And I always like to pull the loop to the back. This makes it a little easier to stitch. And so this is how your cactus should look at this point. To trim our cactus, we're going to do evenly single crochet all the way around our cactus. We're going to come over here where we left our orange attached. And I'm going to lay my pink one down, and I'm going to stitch over it a couple of times. And what we'll do is we'll go in the sides of the stitches, pull up a loop, and do that first chain one just to get us up on top of where we need to be. And now I'm going to begin stitching single crochets evenly around the edge of my pot holder. So I've grabbed that a little bit. I'm going to let that go. And I'm just going to continue stitching single crochets evenly around the edge. Now, the key to getting it to lay nice and pretty is not to put your stitches too close, but not too far apart either. And rather than going in these big gaping holes, go in the stitch and stitch your single crochet. It will give it a much better appearance. And when you're stitching evenly with single crochets, there is not a set number of stitches. You just have to use your eyes and eyeball it and make it look the way you want it to just by evenly stitching those stitches. Now when we get to the bottom, this is where we begin our chain, and so you can just stitch a single crochet in each of those chains. And so I'm just going to move across the bottom, placing a single crochet in each of those chains across. I stitched across the bottom of my cactus bowl, and now I'm going to work back up to here, just evenly single crocheting in the sides of the stitches, trying not to go in the holes. And sometimes you do have to go into a hole if you don't have a place to put your stitch. Fix that. That was a little big. There we go. So much better. I'm going to lay this pink one down, and I'm going to stitch over it a little bit. And I like to do that, and then I'll come back in and weave that in more. But when I've cut and changed colors, I like to go ahead and stitch that down. There we go. And it just helps it stay put, and then we can come back in with our needle and take care of that. All right, so now I'm back to this side on this row. And so what I want to do is cut my orange and bring in my green. And I'll just go ahead and bring it in. And I'm going to stitch over, where's that other green? There it is. Those green ends. And so I'll just start right in the first stitch there. Snug that down and stitch my single crochets around the top. And again, I'm just grabbing those ends just because it helps with weaving it in later. I am going to come back in with my needle and weave those in. There we go. And so now I'm just working my way up the side of my cactus, stitching single crochets, trying to go in stitches and not holes, eyeballing it, looking at it, seeing, making sure my stitches aren't too close and they aren't too far apart. Now I'm at the top of my cactus, and this is where you can decide if you want to have a loop up here or not. All right, so what I do is I just go to the center. So we'll use these stitches that are there. So we have a place to put our stitches on the top, and we'll just use those stitches. And then we'll get a nice even top on our cactus. Now, We want to go to the center of our cactus, which is going to be right here. And this is only if you want a hanger on your cactus. And we'll chain 12. Then we'll come down and we'll go right back in that same stitch and stitch a slip stitch. And then we'll go in the next stitch and stitch a single crochet. So there's our loop for hanging, all right? And then we'll just continue on around, stitching our single crochets evenly and meet back up where we started. I have single crocheted around this side evenly. Back down here where we started, I've cut my yarn and I'm going to go ahead and tie that off. And so now what I need to do is take my needle and weave in all my ends. I have pink and orange on both sides. I have where I started with my orange. And so what we're going to do is just take a few minutes and tidy up the back of our cactus. And remember, when you're tidying up or weaving in your ends, you want to go one way and go back another, going through fibers of the yarn and through stitches, not through holes. All right, I need to spend a little bit more time tidying up. And now what we need to do after I finish tidying my cactus up is add our flower. My cactus is now all tidied up. All my ends are all weaved in. And now I'm going to show you how to make the cactus flower. It's really simple. We're going to begin with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to place 8 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. 1, 2. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My tail wants to get in the way there. 6, 7, and 8. All right, so there's 8. We're going to join to the first single crochet and chain 2. Now we're going to form the petals. We're going to place 3 double crochets in the second chain, or the second stitch, not chain. This is a stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to slip stitch in the next stitch and chain 2. 1, 2. So now we have 1 petal. We'll go into the next stitch and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, slip stitch in the next stitch, and chain 2. And then we'll repeat 3 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And chain 2. Slip stitch in the next stitch, and chain 2. And now we have 1 more petal to make. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and slip stitch in that last stitch. There we go. So now I have 4 petals. We're going to cut our yarn, but we're going to leave ourselves a little bit so we can sew that onto our cactus. All right, so I'm going to tie that off. And you may notice that you have a hole in the center. So we'll take that beginning tail of yarn, we'll thread that onto our needle, and we'll close up that hole. We'll just go around those first single crochet stitches. Gently close that up. There we go. And now we'll just weave that end in, and it'll be out of our way anyway. All right. So now we're going to thread the other end of our yarn onto our needle, and then we'll place this onto our cactus. Now I like putting them there, but sometimes I might put it over to the side. It just depends on where you want it. I like to put it here when I have the loop. All right, so we're going to go in, come up. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make some stitches going around that little circle portion, because I don't want my petals sewn down. I just want the center sewn down. I want it so that it can be just a little bit 3D and stick up. All right, now I just need to weave this last one in, and our cactus will be all finished. So here is our completed cactus. This is the one we made together. And of course you can see that the greens are all different. I used pink on this one, purple on those. This one is cotton, and these two are acrylic yarn. So there are lots of possibilities for this adorable cactus hot pad and pot holder.